to another episode of Spurs This Week. I'm Tobey from underscore Spurs Center, and today I'm joined by Charlie from CB Design, the Z instead of an S, and Max from the Hotspur News. How you guys doing?
Very good.
Yeah, I'm doing well too.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. Today we're going to be reviewing Wolfsberger, our 4-0 win against them, and then coincidentally, we'll be reviewing our 4-0 win against Burnley as well. And we'll go over some transfer rumors that we've heard. And yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's start with Wolfsberger. I mean, Dele Alli, what a performance. Just spectacular. I mean, that overhead kick.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, really good performance that. And I mean, Ali, probably his best performance in like 1 or 2 years. I mean, I know it's only Wolsberger. I almost forgot their name, but yeah, I mean, an overhead kick, 2 assists, and a few other chances where he could have converted it into the net. So I mean, sadly he didn't get to start against Burnley today, but there were rumors that he broke up with his girlfriend or something. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, with Ruby May.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true, but
rumors it's because of he played too much Fortnite, which
I don't know what to say to
do you
that.
think?
I wouldn't believe that. If he...
I could actually see Dele doing that, but do you think it's a coincidence that Dele's like kind of return to good form has happened after he broke up with his girlfriend? Do you think like maybe it was like, I hate to say like a distraction because like obviously they have to have lives outside of football, but like maybe like just not having the pressure, because they say that the reports at least said that they fought a lot, so maybe just getting like a break from like I don't know, like toxic relationship has allowed him to get back to his best on the field.
That's a good assumption, but if I'm being honest, I think the bigger coincidence is Bale and Ali coming back to form at the same time. And you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if like Jose one day in training, like before the Europa League game, he just came to them in training and had a private meeting with the two of them and basically told them, if you don't step up now, you will be frozen out of the team for the rest of the season or something. He must have said something to them to get them, because I mean,
there was rumors.
Before, Bale was not getting enough playtime, and I know, but still, when he played before, he wasn't, I mean, world class. But now, when he's like, everything he did today was just every pass, everything. So
well, there were rumors about Dele and Mourinho having a meeting, discussing and like just fixing all the like just arguments and disputes they've had in the past. And then if you remember a little while ago, there was a video that Spurs posted, and I don't think they noticed, but there was a background audio of Jose saying, do you want to stay here or do you want to go back to Madrid where you'll never play, or something along those lines. So everyone was trying to figure out whether he was talking to Bale or to Reguilon, but maybe he was talking to Bale and saying that like, if you don't step up, we're not going to take you back on a second season loan. So you're going to end up back at Madrid where you're not playing. So
he wouldn't have said that to Reguilon, because Reguilon's been in one of our best performers this season, so it has to be Bale.
Yeah. So maybe those two things, with Mourinho talking to Dele, kind of bringing him back, and then Mourinho sort of threatening Bale with like this, like just said of like not being able to play well probably for the rest of his career, or at least not in one of the top 5 leagues. Maybe just like those two things that brought those two players back for us, which is, I mean, it's been exceptional. But moving on from Dele and Bale, who both had really good performances. Actually, sorry, not moving on from Bale. I wanted to talk a little bit more on him. But in his past 4 games, he's had at least 1 goal or 1 assist in all competitions. So against Burnley today, he 2 goals and 1 assist. Against Wolfsberger, he had a goal. Against West Ham, he had an assist. And then against Wolfsberger again, he had a goal and an assist. So I mean, he's doing well. He's hitting form, which is, I mean, it's just lovely to see.
To be more accurate, he's basically had 4 goals and 3 assists in his last 4 games, which is basically 7 goal contributions in his last 4 games, which is phenomenal. Also, I wanted to say something about Reguilon. I mean, the difference when he's on the pitch and when he's off it for us is just, I mean, it's been visible in the last few games. Against West Ham, he was really good, even though we lost. We were unlucky, and he's just He was so good today. Not a single mistake for him. His tackling was on point. His touch was on point. His everything. His cross for Lucas, just got it all. I'm honestly starting to consider him being the best left back in the league. I mean, depending on Andy Robertson's form, obviously. But yeah, I mean, he's been world class.
Yeah, the thing with Reguilon, me and Bodie were discussing it in the last podcast we did. I think it was after the Man City defeat. And me and Bodie agreed on the fact that I think when Reguilon's on the pitch, Son's involved more in the game because obviously we saw from the fourth goal today that Bell's goal, second goal, like put off with like a little link up between Reguilon and Son. And obviously today, Reguilon comes back into that left back position. Son gets 2 assists. Is against Man City, he's non-existent because obviously because the thing is that obviously like me and Bodie have explained this already on another podcast, but the thing is the difference between Davis and Reguilon likes to get forward more, Davis doesn't, and therefore Reguilon getting forward more, therefore I guess increases Son's involvement in game. Was he 2 assists today, and obviously when Reguilon wasn't injured, before he got injured, Son was the top goal scorer in the league. He had quite a few assists as well. So Reguilon, as Charlie said, is because the thing that people are going to say that Kane is people say that Kane's the most important player in our squad, but for me, just as important.
Also, what I wanted to say, I totally agree with you, but then again, there's a big difference between Man City's defense and Burnley's defense. But I totally agree. I totally agree. I'm just saying, but Son was, in front of goal today, a great save from Pope, and then that horrible shot at the end. But two really good assists. Like the first one, the vision. That's phenomenal. Yeah. And also the second one, really nice pass to Bale. So hopefully we'll see more of that.
Yeah. I was going to say too, Reguilon, the difference, like you're saying, between him and Davis is that Reguilon gets forward, so that when Reguilon gets forward, the right back has something else to think about, which opens up more space for Son, which I think is what you're saying. But it opens up just a whole new level of attack for Spurs versus when Davis plays and then Son has to deal with the right back, and then when he cuts inside, the right back can just follow him because there's no one making that overlapping run. So yeah, I think that's just the modern game. Like the fullbacks have become so important. And like you're saying, Reguilon's probably one of our most important players. But just going back to that 4-0 win over Wolsberger, Vinicius, you got a double. What are you guys thinking about Vinicius in terms of signing him over the summer?
Yeah, the weird thing about Vinicius is that on Thursday, in my opinion, overall, his game wasn't fantastic. He didn't have, especially in the first half. I thought in the first half, he played quite sloppy. Some of his touches were very poor. But that's the thing with Vinicius, that he can have a really poor game, and he'll still bag a few goals. That's what I like about him. But I think Daniel Levy said for him to stay at Spurs, he has to step up his game. It's something along those lines.
Yeah, there's a about that.
But the thing is, I trust Vinicius, because the thing is, obviously, I know his goals have come against not the best opposition in terms of quality, but at the same time, when we've needed Vinicius to do it, he does it. Obviously, I think he's one of the goal scorers in the Europa League, and if anything, he deserves 4 minutes in the Prem, because we've seen what he can do on the ball. I think on the ball he's a very good player. In terms of his price, was it 40 million?
Yeah.
For me, I'm not entirely certain. Benfica are asking 40 million for Vinicius. I'm not sure if I would pay that much, but at the same time, I'd love to see him stay at the club.
Yeah, I think the issue right now is that we'd all love to see him stay, but he's just in this, especially in this economic climate, he's not worth 40 million, especially when there's other positions that we really, really need, like center back. And with Dane Scarlett coming in and Mourinho really just gushing over his talent and saying that next season he'll be a rotation player, maybe. I I don't know what Mourinho's thinking, but maybe he's thinking like we don't need to sign Vinicius permanently, and he's just going to throw a lot of faith onto Dane Scarlett, which I don't necessarily think will happen. But I do think it's extremely unlikely that we'll spend 40 million on Vinicius. Just like it's just I don't think we have the money.
I think Vinicius's best attribute is his positioning and movement, because most of his chances come out of that, because he still hasn't scored like a worldie for us. All of his goals have mostly been tap-ins or just not nice finishes inside the box. But he's consistent because every game he's pretty much played in Europa or in the FA Cup, he scored. And really, maybe he's not performing in training as Jose would like him to, and maybe that's why he's not playing in the Prem. But still, I think he deserves a bit of a shot in the Prem because, I mean, he really hasn't done much wrong. Like, people say, oh, what's so good about him? He scored, he's one of the top scorers in Europa League, 6 goals.
Yeah, second top scorer.
The top scorer is some guy from Molde with 8 goals. But, I mean, really, Vinicius...
No, I think the top scorer only has 7, actually.
I swear I checked the other day. It was...
It's Yusuf Yaziki from Lille, who has 7, and then Pizzi, I think, from Benfica, who has 7. Really? They just got knocked out. So
I don't know. Maybe I must have got something wrong. But yeah, I just he's got everything that you need except for the first touch. I mean, his first touch is a bit off sometimes, but I just think he's the consistency that we do need in a backup striker, because we never had that with Janssen, with
Llorente,
Clinton Engie. But I mean, I rate him, but again, 40 million is too much. If we can get that down to like 20, 25 mil, maybe I take it. Depending, first we need to get defenders this summer. That's the most important.
That's the key. Speaking of defenders, I think we can just, or actually no, here. The last thing I think I really want to talk about this game is Marcel Laviniere, Dane Scarlett, and Niall John, the 3 academy players, getting some minutes. And Charlie and I were talking a little bit before the pod started about Laviniere. Like we were both pretty impressed with him. Obviously, he made a couple mistakes, but I mean, to be making your debut is just it's a big moment, and there's a lot of nerves that go along with it. So I think overall it was a really good performance from him. What do you guys make of Laviniere?
As you said, like as you said, like he's young, so like he's gonna have nerves, like he's gonna make a couple of mistakes. Overall, I thought we had a half decent game. We won a couple of corners. Like once again, I know the opposition, like in terms of quality, isn't fantastic, but at the same time, like I thought overall we had a pretty decent game. Same with Noel John in centre midfield, and Dane Scarlett, like he's going to be one to watch in the future. 100%.
Speaking of Dane Scarlett, I think I don't quote me on this, but I think he's our youngest ever assist provider in any competition at the senior level. But in any case, he's
I think he's the first 16-year-old who assists in the Europa League since Mbappe in December 20.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's good company to have. I mean, and his birthday is in March, so he will be turning 17 soon. But still, like, and then like we were saying a little bit earlier, Mourinho was talking after the game and saying that next season he could see Dane Scarlett, or he wants Dane Scarlett to be a first-team rotation player. Which I mean, it's been a while since we've had someone like that who is coming from the academy and getting some serious minutes at that age. I mean, I don't know when the last time was. I mean, the closest thing we've had to that has probably been Harry Winks, maybe Kane, or I guess Tanganga too. But like none of them were as young as Scarlett was. And just speaking on that, I think Mourinho, who we kind of came in, we were a little worried about him developing our youth because this rotation or reputation he has, but he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, youngest ever player, he twice while he's been in charge, that record's been broken. Youngest ever goal scorer, youngest assist provider now, countless debuts. So I mean, I'm really impressed with him and what he's managed to do with our academy. It's just exceptional.
I agree. I mean, just think about all the talents that have been unearthed ever since Jose has joined. Harvey White, Dennis Turkin, Dane Scarlett, Keon Etete, Niall John. Lavinier, and just a lot of them. Skip's doing great at Norwich. Sessegnon's doing good at Hoffenheim.
Yeah.
And sadly, Parrott is going to be sacrificed here unless he does something amazing at Millwall. Okay. I think he will.
Actually, I do want to talk about Parrott a little bit because I've seen some people like kind of going after him and being like, every time he plays and he doesn't score, like, oh, Parrott didn't score again and this and that. But I mean, I think people talk about how there's like early and late bloomers in terms of like when they really reach into their talent. And Dane Scarlett is obviously an early bloomer. I mean, he's been playing with the first team and he's the youngest assist provider. At one point, he was our youngest ever player. But I think Troy Parrott, I mean, he's going to come into it a little bit later, which is, I mean, it's okay. Harry Kane, I think I was looking at it, and Harry Kane at Troy Parrott's age, the only like terms of stats he had was 2 goals in the championship, which is more than what Troy has had. But I mean, still, I think he does have a lot of talent. He's been highly rated by the academy. I think just we have to be a little patient with him. And is he 18? He's 19, I think. So I think we have to give him a little bit more time before we really say that it's okay, maybe time to sell. But that was something I wanted to talk about as well, because I don't think it's
I agree. It could be a late bloomer. I mean, Kane only got integrated into first team when he was around 2021. And not much was even expected of him, and then he just boomed in the 14-15 season.
And the other thing is that Parrott's been played out of position a lot. He hasn't been played in his preferred role of striker. He's been played as a left winger, as an attacking mid, which actually, I mean, could work out well for us if he could develop into a left winger, and we have a long-term replacement for Son if he turns good and starts adding those goals to his game. But moving on from Troy Parrott, I think we've covered everything from that first Wolfsberger game. Is there anything else you guys want to mention about it before we move on?
Not really.
Alrighty.
Not really. Just say that Europa League's like a massive conversation for us this year, because for me obviously it's a chance to get back into the Champions League where we belong, like especially for a club like our stature.
Yeah,
like we literally reached the final 2 years ago, so we should be in the Champions League. So Europa League's big for us this year.
If you ask me, Europa League is our season definer. If we don't win it, Jose's ultimately failed this season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if we don't win it, but we win the Carabao Cup and then we somehow manage to get back into the top 4.
Well, if we get top 4 in the Carabao Cup, that's great. But we're probably not going to get top 4. That's the if we're being real. Unless Bale and Ali play like this every game, I can't see it happening. But you never know. But basically, we probably won't get top 4. We'll probably lose in the Carabao Cup final.
Honestly, we're not far off. If we win our game in hand,
checked after the 6 behind 4th place, which is West Ham with a game in hand, which is Fulham next week. I mean, there's always a chance, but as I said in our match preview for Burnley on our channel, we said that like for us to get top 4, like now's the time we have to start picking up our form and winning games like continuously.
So just looking at the top 4, the teams ahead of us are Everton, who have played 24 games, Liverpool, who played 25, and they're both on 40 points, and we've played 25 and are on 39 points. So if we win our game in hand, we'll be against Fulham. We'll have 42 points, which is 3 points behind West Ham in 4th. And depending on the result of today's game against Chelsea, Man United, we could be anywhere from 2 points behind them to 5 points behind them, or we could be 1 point behind them as well. So it's still extremely possible, especially considering that Everton have Southampton next, who I guess haven't been on the best form, but they're a good team. They could pull something out against them. And Liverpool have just been on awful form. So, I mean, stranger things have happened. So I'm just gonna say it's possible. But talking about the Europa League,
I think Everton will win against Southampton.
I don't know. I mean, Southampton have obviously been on a pretty bad run of form. For listeners, if you didn't know, they lost 3-0 to Leeds, but before that they drew 1-1 against Chelsea, and then before that they lost to Wolves, lost to Newcastle, and then lost to Man United in that 9-0 defeat. But I mean, like I said, like they drew against Chelsea, so they do have the form to, even if they don't necessarily beat Everton, I think they could pull out a draw, which would be great for us. But I mean, we'll see how it goes. And then, so back to the Europa League, we drew Dynamo Zagreb. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. Or
yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts on that?
It's Zagreb. Croatia's literally next to Montenegro where I live, so yeah, it's Zagreb. I'm a bit annoyed that there's no fans because I could have went and saw it live. Yeah. We cannot underestimate them. They are a very good squad. Orsic is quick. They've got, they're the kind of team that just shock someone like Barcelona and beat them. And they've done it quite a few times. They're Champions League squad. They're usually in Champions League, so we really can't underestimate.
That's a good bit to have beforehand. I mean, we always say like, don't underestimate them. Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, overall, looking at the draw, looking at the other teams we could have got, I'm actually happy with the draw. But once again, like Charles said, cannot underestimate Zagreb whatsoever. Obviously, they've been in the Champions League before, but at the same time, looking at the other teams we could have got, like Villarreal, Arsenal, Man United, AC Milan, I'm overall pretty happy. For me, Dynamo Zagreb, I'd say the lower quality teams left in the competition, but at the same time, it's not going to be an easy task, but obviously not as easy as Wolsberger. This. I mean, that's pretty obvious anyway. At the same time, Dynamo Zagreb, I guess if we're on our form, we should cruise past them pretty convincingly. But at the same time, we have to be up for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, our first game is the away leg. So if we can just go in, and we don't even really have to win, but if we get a draw or just score a couple away goals, we should be able to finish the job at home. Because I think we've won every game that's been at home in the Europa League this season. So I mean, yeah, it's entirely possible.
I think for us, being away in the first leg suits us more because therefore, in the first leg, we grab, say for example, we win 2-0 in Croatia in the first leg. Then the second leg, they have to come out because they have to score 2 goals, which therefore could suit our counter-attacking sort of plan better.
Yeah.
And therefore kill the tie.
And then, I mean, at that point, if we win 2-0 away and they come out and then we are able to score a goal or 2 in the first half, and then we're winning 4-0 on aggregate and they have to score 4 goals. Would they have to score 4 or I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, they would have to score quite a few goals, and our defense is bad, but it shouldn't be that bad. So yeah, like I said, it's entirely possible. And then we'll go into not to get ahead of ourselves, but if we do manage to beat this Zagreb side, then we'll go into the quarterfinals, and then we're essentially right there. I mean, the trophy is in touching distance at that point. So I think the squad can do it. I think we can win the league, the Europa League, not the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how it goes. And now I think we can move on to today's win against Burnley. Gareth Bale, 2 goals and an assist. I mean, you just love to see it. It's
Tobey, I can tell you've been waiting for this moment with patience for a few months now. Obviously, Bale's your favourite player. The early listeners of the pod will know that. And we've discussed that he had a pretty poor start, but now we're finally seeing that formist temporary class is permanent, and we're seeing not even glimpses of the old Bale anymore. The last few games, just pure old Bale,
start to finish. Yeah, he's been performing exceptionally. I mean, I did make a bet with a friend of mine who's a Chelsea fan, and we bet on who would score more goals by the end of the season, Werner or Bale. And I mean, at the beginning of the season, it wasn't looking too good for me, but now at this point, Werner has 10 goals and Bale has 8. So wouldn't it be funny though if that by the end of the season, Gareth Bale, who came here on a loan for basically next to nothing, had more goals than Timo Werner, who they spent, I don't even know how much they spent on him, like 60, 70 million?
It was around that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would just be amazing. And then the memes that would come out of that would be hilarious. So as long as Bale can stay on form and Werner stays off it.
In my opinion, like, people could disagree with me, to be honest, but at the same time, like, the story of Bale this season is that, like, when he hasn't had his great games, like, he has shown like a couple of glimpses of what he can do. So like, he scored a few goals in the Europa League, but then again, like, he didn't have a great game. But for example, he got an assist or scored a goal. Like, shown glimpses of what he can do. But at the same time, okay, I feel like Mourinho's got to start him. We know that for him to find his form. At the same time, like, what it takes is consistency, to have like a good run of games, to therefore get yourself because to be honest, like when Son, Kane and Bale are on form in the same game in which they were today, that front three, like, proper deadly. And to us, like, we said that when Bale signed, like, just imagine Bale, Son, Kane as that front three. Like, when it's on form, it's
that's what we've been saying that since the beginning of the season. We keep waiting for Bale to be able to hit that form, and then we could have such a lethal front three. And I mean, I'm a huge Bergwijn fan. I think we need to be a little patient with him, but having a bigger goal scoring threat on the right hand side in Bale just opens up more space for Kane and Son. Because I mean, beforehand, when we had Bergwijn on the right and he wasn't really on form, it left the center backs to be able to focus more on the threat coming from the left side in Son and Kane. Whereas if they didn't really have to worry as much about Bergwijn, who maybe had to take an extra touch or two before he could deliver that the final cross, or his shots weren't as lethal or as on target as Sons and Kane's were. So now it's just their defense is going to be so much more stretched than it was beforehand, and we saw what can come of that. What can come of that today. So it's really exciting to see. And then
I pretty much on Instagram. I said on my Instagram that I think one of our main like targets is to have a right winger who has end product. Like, I mean, I love Bergwijn and I love his work rate defensively, and overall I think he's a pretty decent player. But the only problem is that, I mean, 0 goals this season, and we're over through it. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I think we need like a goal scorer, like a goal scoring right wing. And right now, Bale is proving to be that missing piece, which is what we need, like a goal right winger. And to be honest, this is what we needed all season. Like, as I said, like, Bergwijn's work rate defensively is exceptional, and I fully rate that. But to be honest, like, you can't not have Bale in there when he was on form, because when Bale's on form, like, we all know how good Bale is, and we've seen that from his spell at Real Madrid in the last 7 years, etc. Like, he's one of the best right wingers in football. We know that, and when he's on form, he's exceptional. So,
I even think that Bale's like return to form can be really helpful for Bergwijn and his development. I just wrote an article about this for the Spurs web, but it's like, now that Bale's back and he'll be starting in all the big games, that'll leave Bergwijn to play in these other games, like against Dynamo Zagreb, or against, maybe if we're having multiple games in a week, Bergwijn will be able to play against the easier opponent. I mean, every game in the Premier League is difficult, don't get me wrong, but if Bergwijn if the pressure's off him a little bit more, he's not in the starting lineup, he can kind of stay out of the spotlight, not get as much hate as he has been, which has been just, I mean, awful to see. But maybe he can just nab a goal here and there, start getting some assists, build up that form, and then by the end of the season, we'll have Son, Kane, Bale, Lucas Moura, Steven Bergwijn, and then we'll have a lot of options up front. I mean, even Eric Lamela has been turning up his form recently. So I mean, beginning of the season, we could be talking about how we needed a new goal-scoring right winger, and by the end of the season, we could have 3 or 4. So, but Lucas Moura, speaking of him, I thought he had a decent game today. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, but he played pretty well. I mean, he had a nice bit of skill early on, but
I'm not his biggest fan, but because I think he falls down too much, and his shots are very on and off. One shot blasts into the goal and the other goes out of the stadium, basically. We saw a bit of that today. One of his shots went really high up and one went into the net. But at the same time, when he does have a good game, he has a good game, basically. And I like the way that I can Yeah, I can see why Jose started him over Ali. There was quite a lot of hate that Ali didn't start, but Lucas he always tries to run forward with the ball, and he's always trying to burst through the opposition's defense with energy. And he did help definitely in the second half, in the first half, and his goal was good too. So his form has been good. Was the stat like 3 goals in his last 3 or something like that?
Yeah,
he's been good.
Something like that. But I mean, I wasn't really expecting Dele to start today because he had a good game against Wolfsberger, same as Bale did a couple weeks ago. So I was actually thinking like maybe it'll be something similar to what happened with Bale, where he plays well against Wolfsberger. He gets some minutes in Bale's case against West Ham and Dele's case against Burnley, and then Bale played again against Wolfsberger and had another good game. And then he was brought into the Premier League after that in a starting role. And then now Dele had a good game against Wolfsberger. He got a few minutes off the bench against Burnley, and I thought he played pretty well. And then now maybe he just has to get another. We don't have another Europa League game for a little bit, so maybe he'll just get some more minutes off the bench against Fulham, and then maybe he gets a start this weekend against. I'm not sure who we're playing this weekend. Crystal Palace, but we'll see how that goes.
Mm. Yeah, I can totally see why Jose started more instead of Dele, because I think the difference is like, I think the thing I don't like about Dele Alli is that he's too slow on the ball. Like he doesn't release it quick enough. Like for example, in the second half when he came on, he had a couple opportunities to play it straight through to Kane, who would have been 1-on-1 if if he was successful in doing that. Cause I think for me, like the comparison between Dele and Lucas, because I always see like Lucas is like more quick, like he's more like more of like a tricky player, and therefore like, it could be like better out on the right hand side on the wing. But at the same time, at the same time, consider Lucas releases the ball a lot quicker than Dele Alli.
Yeah, well, sometimes.
I mean, people could say that Dele is more creative, and to be honest, that is true. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, like, I'd rather have someone who would like release the ball quickly and have our tempo a lot quicker. Because the thing is, like, against teams like Burnley who are going to sit back, like I said this in my match preview on our channel, and I said that to beat teams like Burnley and West Brom and like teams like who are going to sit behind the ball, like until they can quickly. Like start the game quickly, and it kind of shows because in the 1-0 win at Turf Moor back in October, in the first half we allowed their game plan to work, which is what took us so long to score the first goal. So as I said, against teams Burnley and West Brom, you've got to start quickly, and Lucas kind of brings that sort of like flash, if you know what I mean, like attacking.
And that goal against Burnley, it came from a corner, which I mean Kane moved quickly to head it on to Son, who had the back post, who then again reacted quickly, score the goal. So I get what you're saying. I see what you're saying. We definitely need to move quicker against these teams, so we can't allow them to just shift back into their positions, because that's what they want. They want to just sit back, be in position, and make teams break them down. So I mean, Dele will have to hit some more form, I think, before he'll be able to really successfully break teams down like that. So maybe he'll get, I don't know, maybe he'll get some more minutes against Fulham or against Crystal Palace, and he can just build on that. But like I said, we'll see how it goes. Any other specific performances you want to talk about against Burnley?
Yeah, I was going to say Davinson Sanchez. Like, I'm not. I would say.
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention this. Yeah, you go.
I was like to be honest, I was going to say. I guess I would consider myself as one of Sanchez's, I guess, like biggest critics. But at the same time, I thought he was pretty good today, and I think having Tobey beside him, I guess, like made him have like a better game in terms of like Tobey's experience. Yeah, for me, Sanchez had one of his better games today. I think he was one of the man of the match contenders in Tottenham's Twitter. So one of his.
Davinson Sanchez won the most duels, 14 in the match.
Yes,
I mean, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, and he had an 84% pass accuracy with 63 accurate passes. So I mean, he did have a very good game. That's pretty impressive.
I really throughout the whole game I was watching it with my dad, and I just kept saying, "Oh my God, Sanchez has been great, like really solid." And like he didn't put a foot wrong. Actually, there was one bad pass from him, but he literally didn't put a foot wrong when it comes to his heading. His like there was a chance where the Burnley guy was pretty much through, and then he managed to outmuscle him and not give away a foul either. Like he was, and yeah, I agree with the Alderweireld thing, but I think what's really been dragging down Sanchez recently is the fact that he's been playing with Dyer, because I mean, yes, he's always had a mistake in him, as Bodie usually points out, or I mean, everyone says that he has a mistake in him. But I'm still actually I'm one of the rare fans of this guy, because I think he's a great tackler, and when he just has that solidity of knowing Alderweireld's next to him, I think it'd be a pretty good partnership, because I mean they were also a really good partnership on the Poch, and then they haven't played together in a while. It's always been Sanchez and Dyer, or Alderweireld and Dyer, and I think Dyer sadly needs to be singled out of the squad. He's not good enough, in my opinion. He's an all right backup, but no, I'm not a fan of him.
I think the biggest issue with Dyer and Sanchez playing together is that Dyer is still learning the role of center back, and Sanchez isn't experienced enough to just be able to play without having someone to lead him, which I think is something that, like, when he played in the Europa League with Joe Hart behind him, who was just constantly barking out orders, I think that actually really helped Sanchez. And then playing next to someone like Tobey Alderweireld, who's experienced, he's been there, he's played in Champions League finals. So just having someone with like that type of experience can just kind of help him settle and calm down.
Didn't Sanchez play in Champions League in the Champions League final?
No, it was Vertonghen and Tobey in the final.
Yeah, Vertonghen and Tobey. I was saying Alderweireld has played in Champions League finals, so he has like that experience and can help just kind of lead Davinson Sanchez, which I think that's just good for the team in general, having leaders like that, because Dyer, although he is a leader, he just makes mistakes so often. I was talking to my dad about this earlier. We were saying that Dyer, he was disagreeing with me, but I was saying when Dyer makes a mistake, it leads to a goal. When Sanchez makes a mistake, he has the pace to recover and stop that, or at least sometimes he does. Sometimes it does lead to a goal, but I feel like every time Dyer makes a mistake, the other team scores, and he makes mistakes far too often.
I must admit, I agree with this, and not just that. Dyer's mistakes are like just the most like Sanchez's mistakes are bad, but like usually Sanchez is put under pressure or anything. But some of Dyer's mistakes are just like a random wayward pass straight to the opposition and stuff. Like it just totally random for no reason to do it. And also, honestly, I don't know what got into Dyer's head that he could ping balls, because he definitely can't. But let's not hate on Dyer too much. Also,
I do like the effort he puts forward. I mean, you can see he's doing his best. Every game.
He does give his best.
Unfortunately, his best isn't.
Remember, 24.
Dyer's only 24.
No, Sanchez.
Sanchez still got.
And the thing about Dyer is he's English, but he's not homegrown, because he grew up in Portugal. So I don't know. I really like us. Sorry, Dyer, if you're listening to this, but I really like us to sell him over the summer and bring in another center back. I think that's actually a good transition into some of the transfer rumors that we've been hearing over the past few days with Sven Botman, who I think would be a great signing. He's 21, I believe. He's 21 years old, center defender, left-footed, from Lille, and they're top of the league with the best defense in League One right now. So, what would you guys think about that transfer? If it did happen.
Yeah, to be honest, like right now, I'll literally take any defender with some sort of like, literally. Well, I mean, 21 years old. I mean, that's hopeful. I mean, he's still young, which kind of suits our squad, in my opinion. Like over the last 5 years, our squad is like over the last 5 years has been quite young, so that could suit that. Obviously, top of the league in League One with Lyon against teams that like Paris Saint-Germain, etc. Lyon on top of the league. Left-footed centre back, so could.
It's not Lyon, it's Lille, by the
way. Lille.
Sorry, Lille, not Lyon. I mean, 21 years old, and like I mean, for me, like I haven't seen much of him because like I don't really watch League One that much.
Yeah, me neither. But I mean,
it sounds like
the stats seem like they speak for themselves. I mean, he's played in 26 games this season out of Lille's 27. So, I mean, that's a pretty good start. And I mean, his market value, according to Transfer Market, is only 19.75 million pounds, which isn't a lot. Especially like if we could get a player of his quality, I'd say even for 30 million. Or I mean, like I said, I haven't watched much of League One. I tend to get carried away with some of these rumors when they come through. But I mean, he's played in 26 of Lille's 27 games. They're top of the league, and they have the best or tied best defense in all of League One, which is a good start, if anything. And then if we could bring someone in like someone like him, and then bring in maybe someone with a little more experience, or even just bring in him and then rely on Alderweireld for that experience, I think that could really transform the team. But I guess we'll see how it goes. Has there been any other really big transfer rumors to come through?
I haven't heard any of.
There have been more Dybala rumors, but I mean, what's the point at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems unlikely that we'll bring in Dybala at this point, but I don't even know where he'd play. I mean, I guess he could play as the attacking mid, but isn't he? He's more of a center forward, isn't he?
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could put him but you could put him at centre forward as well. So
yeah, I mean, he's obviously a very talented player, but I feel like he would cost a lot, and I'd rather invest that money into other areas on the field. But I'm sorry, I totally missed this other big transfer rumor that there's been. But Nick Pope to Spurs. What are your guys' opinion on Hugo Lloris and what Spurs should do over the summer in terms of new keepers? Here, we'll start with Max.
Well, today it was solid, but that was only Burnley. He got his 100th clean sheet in the Premier League this season. And to be honest, in 9 years, 100 clean sheets sounds a bit disappointing, to be honest. But I mean, obviously, he's a club legend. Mm-hmm. Actually, thinking about it, that's around 12 Premier League clean sheets a season, which is not bad. But yeah, he has had a few mistakes in him. He's not been in good form recently. He's 34, so in my opinion, if we win a trophy this season, he can go because he deserves it. If we don't, I'll be really sad if he left because he really. I mean, if anyone deserves a trophy, he does. So,
how many seasons do you have to be at a club for a guard of honor? It's 10, right?
No idea. Probably 10.
Because he's played 9 for us, so I feel like if anything, he might just stay. He might just want to stay for an extra season, so he gets that guard of honor. But I mean, he's been a club legend. He's been club captain for a while, and he really deserves to lift a trophy for Spurs. But who would you like in terms of replacements? There's been some rumors about Dean Henderson and Nick Pope. Which one of those two would you prefer?
I'd rather have Nick Pope. Like I know he was poor against us today, but at the same time, you've got to consider. For me, Dean Henderson has a better, squad around him. I'd say he has a better defence. And plus, Nick Pope has kept quite a few clean sheets this season as well. And plus, he's still quite young, isn't he? Nick Pope?
And he's 28, I think. That could still be another 5 or 6 seasons with keepers.
Pope was impressive today. He let in 4 goals, but he made some really good saves. That one against Kane, the one against Son, a few good saves, definitely.
Yeah, Lucas Moore in the first half as well, before the second goal. 100%. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Henderson's a very good goalkeeper, but at the same time, I'd rather have Nick Pope in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've been talking a lot about what keepers we could have for the long term, but I mean, Pope, even though he's 28, Lloris is 34 now and he's still playing for us, so that could be 6 seasons. And then by that point, there's probably going to be a new goalkeeping talent that we could sign and have for another, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 seasons. So I'd be okay with Pope. I've heard he's not very good with his feet, which is a little worrying. But if that's something like we could work on and coach out of him, then I think he'd be a great keeper. I mean, I even thought he had a decent game today. The goals that he conceded, there wasn't much he could do about them, but he made a few fine saves against Kane and Bale and Son, and I think he even made a nice save off of a shot Dele had. So yeah, he made 3 saves, 2 diving saves. But I don't know. Is there?
Yeah, that's what I noticed about it. I thought his kicking was quite poor, but other than that, he was very good. I think one thing I do like about him is his reflexes. Like, for example, the saves today, the one from Mora, just after the first goal, the chance Lucas Moura had, 1-on-1, brilliant save. And then again, like his reaction, and I say his reactions and his reflexes are Pope's best aspects. Like, for example, in terms of reactions, the chance for Son in the second half, I got quickly down to his left-hand side. So yeah, like he's a very like good keeper in terms of his, like, I guess, reactions, which in terms of reactions and reflexes, Lloris has been quite poor at recently, especially the Man City game where we lost 3-0. But yeah, like, although his kicking isn't the best, and we saw that today especially, I think Pope can be a good goalie for us if he came.
I mean, that was a problem Lloris had, and I think recently he's gotten better at clearing the ball. So hopefully Pope will be able to go under like a similar transformation. Maybe it's the new coaching staff that was able to help Lloris get that out of his game. So hopefully, if we did sign Pope, he'd be able to get that out of the system. But I think that's just about all of the transfer rumors in the past few days. So our next game is against Fulham. How are you guys feeling about that game going into it? Charlie, we can start with, or Max. Yeah,
I'm not confident about it.
You're not?
I mean, no, I'm confident after this win that we will get the win, but it will be a very nervy match because, I mean, they're just the kind of team that create problems for the bigger teams. They attack you. They don't defend like most. I mean, they do defend, but they don't put all the players, which would obviously be good because if they attack us, we can catch them on the counter with Bale, Kane, and Son. But at the same time, Lookman is a very dangerous player for us. I mean, last time we played them, Lookman outclassed our defense like cheese.
Yeah.
But I think our defense is now better if we keep Sanchez and now the Val duo. Now that we have Reguilon back as well.
Yeah, the last game was Sanchez and Dyer at center back. So hopefully we don't see that again. But unfortunately, I do think Dyer will start because since he didn't play today, and Mourinho obviously loves him. So,
but does he love him? No, but seriously, he used to love him, but I think he's realizing that he's not as good. No, seriously though. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, was he on the bench today?
What I like about Mourinho is scared to take players make a mistake, if you know what I mean. Okay, so for example, like the Olympiacos game, in his second ever match as our manager, Dyer got brought off after 30 minutes, which kind of showed Mourinho's not scared to make a substitution if players aren't playing. And that's the thing with Mourinho. Like if you're not making an effort or if you like make a couple mistakes, you get taken off.
Yeah.
I mean, like Mourinho's one of the most decorated managers in football history, and we know that. So it's pretty obvious that, like, if you make a mistake or if you don't want to be on that pitch, he's going to take you off.
Yeah, I think that's one of his better attributes as a coach. But he does seem to have like this. I can't think of a better word. It's like favor. I guess I was going to say like attraction, but I don't think that's not the right word. But he does seem to really, really love Dyer, and I just don't understand it. I mean, Mourinho likes defenders that don't make mistakes, yet Dyer makes so many mistakes. And he's frozen Rodon out of the squad, which I don't know why he did that. I thought Rodon played very well. He made that one mistake against Liverpool, but other than that, I thought he was solid. Tanganga, I'd even prefer to Dyer. So
I think he should Wolsberger on Thursday, Rodon. He should have played because the time was already done.
That's the thing too, is that he's not even in our Europa League squad. So I don't know why we didn't register him, drop someone else who hasn't been playing, and put him into that Europa League squad. But I don't know. I mean, think Tanganga should be getting minutes in the Europa League, which could maybe help to get minutes for Rodon in the Premier League or any other competition that we could possibly get him in, which is just the Carabao Cup at this point. So I doubt he'll play in the final. But it is frustrating that like Mourinho, I am. We haven't really talked about this, but there was, especially since Mourinho just won his last 2 games on 8-0 on aggregate, but there was a lot of Mourinho out trending and going around, and I think that I'm Mourinho in at this point at least, but I'll defend. I've defended everything he's done so far. The defenders aren't good enough, but he does play our worst center backs. I mean, he's played Sanchez and Dyer together so many times. It doesn't make sense to me. That's the only thing he's done that just confuses me. But
yeah, that's the thing that makes me sit on the fence from Rio, because because obviously like defenders are because like the centre backs are not good enough, and we know that, and people have known that since the start of last season, etc. Like our defence is not good enough, and like we've known that for so long. But at the same time, by now, surely Mourinho has got to like identify like a centre back pairing he's going to stick for every Premier League game. Like, because thing of Mourinho, like one game it's Dyer and Sanchez, another game it's Alderweireld and Dyer, another game it's Sanchez and Tobey, another game it's Rodon and Sanchez. Like you've got to stick with 2 centre backs that you're going to stick with for every single Premier League game, and I don't think he's understood that yet.
Yeah, well, that's what's really frustrated me with Jose. I am Jose currently because obviously, as you said, our defense is just not good enough for top 4. I mean, I think we can still get top 4, but it'll be hard. But basically, it really frustrated me when he basically froze. Alderweireld was frozen out the squad for a few weeks, like for no reason, and that was when we had the bad patch because we were playing Dyer every game. And Dyer was Dyer every game. And it was just really frustrating. And also what frustrates me with Jose is that what was I gonna say? As Jamie Redknapp said on Sky Sports, he still hasn't found his starting 11. He changes the squad up too much, the starting 11. Like at this point in the season, you have to have your starting 11 ready and not to switch it up too much. And hopefully after today's game, he's realized that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think today's lineup was probably our strongest. Maybe Rodon in instead of Sanchez, but Sanchez played well today. So if you can keep that up, then I'd say keep Sanchez in. But yeah, I agree with you completely. Like we need to just find our strongest 11 and play them all the time. I mean, that was one of Poch's strengths, I think, is he found his 11. I mean, Lloris, Rose, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Walker, Dembele, Wanyama, and then Dele, Eriksson, Son, Kane. I mean, he found that lineup and he played them in every game. And then
I just realized something. Sorry for cutting out. This is an interesting topic. I just realized when we started going on bad form with Poch, we didn't have Dembele, we didn't have Wanyama. Eriksson didn't want to stay at the club, and
Dele was injured.
Dele was injured. He did not have his starting 11. And maybe that's where it all went wrong for him, thinking about it,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you include Eriksson, and was Rose still playing at the end of Pochettino's era? I think he might have been, but so if you take
he was, but not very well.
Yeah. So okay, so we'll say that Rose was out too, because I mean he was playing, but he wasn't playing like he had been. So Rose, Walker, Dembele, Wanyama, and Eriksson. 5 really key players of the squad. I mean, we were talking earlier about how important the fullbacks have become. 5 players out of his best 11 were either not at the club anymore or were on awful form. So I agree. I think that might have been something that heavily contributed to the poor form we were under when he left. Because I mean, Nkudu was playing, was like an impact sub at one point. I think he played against Aston Villa in that 3-1 win we had at the beginning of the season. Which I mean, it just shows how out of our depth we were. But something I do want to talk about. Sorry, this is a little off topic, but I was just thinking about it. Was a lot of people have been giving Daniel Levy hate recently about his lack of transfers, and I do understand that. I totally get it. But I think without this COVID pandemic, we would be spending big money, because I mean, the last summer window that we had before COVID hit, we signed Ndombele for like 53 million pounds. We signed Lo Celso for a similar fee, and we signed Sessegnon for 25 million pounds, I think. And we also signed Clark for like 7.5 million pounds or something like that. So he did spend big this summer, and I think he was planning on building on that. And then COVID hit, and then we didn't have the same amount of money. But he still managed to bring in Højbjerg, Reguilon, Bale, Vinicius. So I think he's a good chairman. He doesn't have the same type of money to throw around that Chelsea does, or Liverpool does, or Man City does. So it's a complicated situation that we're in. But I wanted to point out that I think Daniel Levy has done a pretty good job, considering all the like external factors that have weighed in. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but he was planning on having 60,000 fans coming in to every game, or coming into 19 games in a Premier League season, and buying drinks and getting food and getting merchandise from the club store. So all of that extra revenue that we had gotten was taken away, and then we had not the same amount of money coming in. I mean, obviously there's still fans buying merchandise, but it's nowhere near the amount that it was before. So
yeah, well, this is where I totally agree with you. I've been telling people this for a while when they've been hating on Levy, that I'm not ENIC out. I mean, maybe ENIC out, but not Levy out. But people don't realize what they've done for our club.
Yeah,
we were finishing second and third in the league, yes, but we were not in the top 10 most valuable clubs. Now we are edging to be like the fifth most valuable. If we had the fans, we'd be in the top 5 most valuable clubs, ahead of teams like Chelsea, who spend a hell of a lot of money. And people just don't realize how important the stadium is, because 60,000 fans. I mean, before we were not getting even close as much on the White Hart Lane. And
yeah,
just
I think it was like 38.
Yeah, but not just that, but the tickets are more expensive, which is obviously not good for us fans, but for the budget, it's good. And the beers are more expensive. I noticed everything was more expensive. And also just more fans, the biggest football shop on the planet, a lot of merchandise, just really a lot. The stadium has a lot to offer. The stadium tours, the what do they call it? The
Skywalk.
thing where the skywalk. I mean, just think about it. If there was no COVID, we'd be spending a lot of money, and we'd be high up in the league. And people just don't realize this. And this is why I'm so excited for the fans to come back, because it'll do so much for the club. Because yes, this stadium has not been as good as White Hart Lane results wise, but people will see when the fans come back why Levy invested so much into this.
Yeah,
because
and that was another side.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say. I think before COVID hit, there were starting to be some complaints about how, yes, we had like this amazing, brand new, probably the best stadium in the world, but there was a lot of tourists coming in, and they just aren't the same level of like, they just want to go to see the game, and then they'll be like fiddling on their phone while the game is actually happening, but they just want to say like, oh, I went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because it's the best in the world. And I do get that complaint, but I don't think it impacted the atmosphere as much as people were saying. And I think that also has to do with we were on poor form, which when we're on poor form, I mean, the atmosphere tends to not be as good. So
when I went to the game I went to win Red Star Belgrade when we won 5-0, I thought the atmosphere was really good. I mean, also the Red Star Belgrade fans create a great atmosphere, but there's, they have the technology where the stadium's kind of built the shape and the roof,
so the sound stays in.
So so the sound stays in, which is I mean, the stadium is a work of art basically. And I just think people need to give it more time, and also basically we just need to give it more time and see how it goes, because also Poch and Levy said that when the stadium was being built, it was going to be a hard rebuild. It was going to be hard. And we're seeing that right now. We're in the middle of that rebuild. And next summer is key. basically. We need to keep Kane, keep Son, cash in on defense, and then charge for the title, or just charge for trophies.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe we should all go to Spurs YouTube and start watching their videos with ads. Mourinho bringing some extra money for those center backs. But I think we've covered just about everything today. I mean, we even talked about the stadium for a bit, which wasn't in our plans. But I think that was a pretty good talk. Anything else you guys want to add? Alrighty. Well, thank you for listening. All right. It's been another episode of Spurs This Week. Thank you for listening. I'm Tobey from _Spurs Center, and today I was joined by Charlie from CB Design with a Z instead of an S, and Max from the Hotspur News. And remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, leave a like, and same thing with Apple Podcast and Spotify. We really appreciate you guys listening, and remember to follow us on Instagram as well at Spurs This Week. Thank you for your time, and come on, you Spurs.